This is the Jezreel Valley from Mount Carmel. We're looking east, looking right here. Our first, well, right here's the airstrip in the middle of Jezreel Valley, the Israeli Air Force. Over here is Mount Tabor. Then right in front of it, there's a little tree sticking out right here. That is Nazareth on the ridge. Nazareth is right there on that ridge. So this is Mount Tabor. This is the hill of Morah right here, over on the other eastern side of the Jezreel Valley. And Mount Gilboa would be right down here. Right in front of Mount Gilboa in those area right here is Jezreel. The city of Jezreel is right down in there, right at the foot of Gilboa. Coming up here is the at the base of Mount Carmel now.
Okay, there's the desk.
Kishon River.
Okay,
right here
well,
where
it should be there.
killed the prophets. That goes around Mount Carmel.
Just listen to see if my voice
First
pops
of
up.
three passes that come from the
Yeah, I'm gonna shut it back off.
Joachim Pass, come right up here along this highway right here. Right through the hills right here is the northern pass, Joachim. There's the city of Joachim right here.
Yeah, I can hear you.
And the ancient ruins of
Okay,
the
so
city.
I'll turn my mic back on.
Ancient city of Joachim right here on the north side. The modern city. The second pass through would be right down here by Megiddo. Megiddo's right down here, pass through the hills. And then, of course, Jezreel on the far side of the valley, right by Mount Gilboa. So once again, the Jezreel Valley, Kishon River, right over here, Mount Tabor, with Nazareth on the ridge, right there by the tree. The Air Force right here, Mount Tabor, or Mount Hill of Morah, and then Mount Gilboa. Jezreel, Megiddo, Joachim, the ancient tale of Joachim right here, and we're on Mount Carmel, the Jezreel Valley.
In case you just picture Elijah chasing people down the river right there.
Here's the south view.
Oh, there,
You might not recognize him.
little burly.
You should have seen him
Follow the Joachim Pass.
before he got it
Here.
cut. Once COVID started, he did get it here.
Little Santa
Four,
Claus.
four,
Yeah,
four.
Oh.
And he was,
woolly looking, yeah. Well, they say when you get older, you get like that.
Elijah's battle with the prophets would have taken place right down here somewhere. There's a spring where they got water from, probably right down here that they've located. That's Galilee. Jezreel Valley. And we're looking south. I'm coming. This is the Jezreel Valley from Mount Carmel. We're looking east, looking right here. Our first, well, right here's the airstrip in the middle of Jezreel Valley, the Israeli Air Force. Over here is Mount Tabor. Then right in front of it is a little tree sticking out right here. That is Nazareth on the ridge. Nazareth is right there on that ridge. So this is Mount Tabor. This is the hill of Morah right here, over on the other eastern side of the Jezreel Valley. And Mount Gilboa would be right down here. Right in front of Mount Gilboa in those area right here is Jezreel. The city of Jezreel is right down in there, right at the foot of Gilboa. Coming up here is the at the base of Mount Carmel now is the Kishon River, right here where Elijah killed the prophets. That goes around Mount Carmel. This is the first of three passes that come from the south. This is Joachim Pass, and right up here along this highway right here. Right through the hills right here is the northern pass, Joachim. There's the city of Joachim right here, and the ancient ruins of the city. Ancient city of Joachim right here on the north side, the modern city. The second pass through would be right down here by Megiddo. Megiddo's right down here. You pass through the hills. And then, of course, Jezreel on the far side of the valley, right by Mount Gilboa. So once again, the Jezreel Valley, Kishon River, right over here, Mount Tabor, with Nazareth on the ridge, right there by the tree. The Air Force right here, Mount Tabor, or Mount Hill of Morah, and then Mount Gilboa. Jezreel, Megiddo, Joachim, the ancient tale of Joachim right here, and we're on Mount Carmel, the Jezreel Valley.
Can't you just picture Elijah chasing these people down to that river right there?
Here's the south view. Follow the Joachim Pass right through here. Of course, the west Elijah's battle with the prophets would have taken place right down in here somewhere. There's a spring where they got water from, probably right down here that they've located. That's Galilee. Jezreel Valley. And we're looking south. In our study called Understanding the Times, and this kind of comes about with, well, I've written a book, Hope for America's Last Generation, Titanic Faith, talked about it, and this topic right here, I talked about this in Oklahoma City at a convention center in 1992 in the spring, and so I've been talking about the 4-generation cycle of where we're at in time, getting it out of the Bible.
There it is. Okay, so what was the one that was?
I shut the video on because it was still playing while you were teaching.
Okay, so you got.
I don't know.
Okay, you got volume now. Lana, are you okay? I'm talking, so we should get volume. We got several things. We had this all running really smooth, no volume at all.
Sounds terrible.
It's loud. It's crackling.
Okay, it was better. It got
Okay,
better.
did you turn this down
It's
a little
still
bit?
getting up red.
Okay, you can take this down a little
Yes,
bit
I
here.
tried that.
Okay, checking there. Try that. Okay, here we go again. I apologize, but we've got this live feed going. We had it nailed down real good, and then something happened last week where the sound wasn't going through. Oh, we got really loud. I forgot to set something, and then I forgot to set it. Then we started making adjustments during the thing, but got something messed up. So, hey, it's not bad for two boomers trying to figure out how to do live stream by ourselves. So it's like we're doing fine.
Yes.
But people do come on and watch, and then it gets disappointing because we mess it up. So anyway, the 4-generation cycle. I was just talking about this is something I've written a book about and talked about it going way back to 1992. Talking about it, taught it many different times, and it's not necessarily something that you see in the news or that I'm up on current events. It's something I just noticed in the scriptures, and I'm going to show you the scriptures. And then you start wondering about where are we at as a culture, and you can kind of see things overlaying as we make cultural mistakes as making choices. We start it's human nature to do these things, and God even lays out in Scripture what man does, what He does to try and bring them back, and the ultimate response, the results of it. And what I presented 2007 in a book, and I've been teaching before, is on a WHO a couple times, on a talk show, on the Drive Time show with Steve Dace, and just laid it out potentially that in 2001 we would have hit the beginning of what is called the 4th generation, and that 4th generation is the final generation of a culture, and it's not just Christian. It's not because you can't just go through history and burn down empires and nations and cultures that are not Christian, because God is the God of all mankind. God has created society for all mankind. And we've already talked about the basic institutions of individual responsibility, marriage, family, government, nationality. God established that for the well-being of mankind. You don't need to be a Christian. You don't need to even necessarily believe in God to follow those institutions. And so nations that may reject God, they may reject Jesus Christ, but if they still have, face up the fact that they are individually responsible for their actions, if they embrace marriage and family, they can survive for centuries and never come around to acknowledging Jesus Christ as Lord, because they're living in time, in this time in history where God has created. If they've got government, nationality, that's what God has designed. So this is not a message of we need to get everybody saved. This is a message of we need to return back to the basic institutions. So when we look at our culture today, or if I was looking at our culture in the 90s, 80s, and then into the 21st century, it's like, okay, we got this issue over here of evangelizing and Jesus Christ and the church teaching the Word of God, which is another whole situation. But now we're looking at our culture, and our culture is checking off or deconstructing these institutions that God gave us for the well-being of mankind. Marriage and family, and then individual responsibility. And even like I said several weeks ago, in 2007, when I wrote the book "Hope for Marriage Last Generation," one of them was nationalism. You have a nation, and not that you're all going to go off and burn down everybody else's nation, but a nation has boundaries, it has laws, it takes care of its people. You trade with other nations. You don't need to be greater than other nations, but just like you have families on this block, my family's not burning down everybody else's family. We function together in this neighborhood as families, just like nations function together in the world. So nationalism is not an evil thing any more than family is. And so that wasn't even an issue in 2007. But since 2007, you can see nationalism has become an evil. Just like, you can see, marriage between a man and a woman is some kind of bondage, or individual responsibility is oppression, and all these things are being deconstructed. And so I saw this coming. Many people saw this coming, but it's amazing that we're where we are at, that the five major institutions God has established, we as a culture are trying to undermine them, deconstruct them, and think we're still going to survive. Now, that's not even talking about recognizing God as creator, recognizing Jesus Christ as Lord, recognizing the authenticity of the Word of God. That's another whole conversation. But to save our culture, we need to do something in this. And again, like I said before, we're halfway through the last generation, and it's only going to get worse. It's a snowball. My response to people, well, what do we do? What do we do? You save your soul. You save your own soul at this time, because this snowball is rolling, and you're not going to roll it back up the hill. Anything's possible with God, but when you get this far, it's a terrible, terrible place to be. And we'll get into the minor prophets. They all were spoken, and the major prophets were speaking to groups like this. Proverbs chapter 30, verse 11. I'm reading in the NIV right now. Proverbs 30, verse 11. It identifies. It's not clear in the NIV. That's why we go to other sources here, and because they try to smooth it out for you. But there's a word door, D-O-R. It means generation or cycle. And each of these sections, these four sections, begins with there is a door, D-O-R, or there is a cycle, or there is a generation. And it's translated this way. And each of these right here, what I've got written here, this is my breakdown of what they're doing, and what is happening in our culture. Is there's going to be a cycle. There's going to be a generation. There's going to be a group, a period of people that's going to come first, and they're going to reject the truth. Because the truth has been rejected, there's going to be a door, D-O-R, a cycle, a generation, that's going to replace the truth after the previous generation rejected the truth. They've got to find a new philosophy. Because you reject this philosophy, well, what is our philosophy? They're going to get this. And then here, they're going to remove the truth. Now you've got competing, and they're going to be actively removing this truth from society so it doesn't exist. And then anyone who hangs on to it yet, there's going to be repression of the truth. So there's a rejection of the truth. They replace the truth with their own truth. Then in an attempt to get their truth, their philosophy, their worldview incorporated into the nation, into the society, into the culture, they're going to remove the truth so you can't see it. But there's going to be some that hang on to it. And that then, these people will not let go of the truth. They're going to have to be repressed, oppressed, so that you do not speak the truth. I mean, we are here. You are here in the middle of this. And this has been happening in our culture since the 1880s, going through this right here. Now, you can say, I don't agree with that. Well, okay, that's fine. That's not biblical teaching. That's me taking what is in the Bible and overlaying it on our culture. But here it is. In Proverbs chapter 30, I first saw this in Genesis, and we're going to go to Genesis. And then as I talked through it and struggled with it, I saw this verse, and this is kind of a confusing verse. It's almost one of those verses in the Bible that just kind of, it's just out there. It's like Solomon is writing, just kind of, actually, if you look in chapter 30, the sayings of Agur, son of Jakeh, an oracle, he's just like saying things. It's like, you do this in your daily devotion. You read this, like, what does this mean? Like, here it is in the NIV. There are those who curse their fathers and do not bless their mothers. Okay? All right, sure. There's some people that curse their parents, yeah. Then it says, verse 12, those who are pure in their eyes and yet not cleansed of their filth. They're pure in their own eyes, but yet not. Yeah, there's some of those people too in the world. Sure, there is. It's almost like a 60s rock song, just kind of like there's some people like this, some people like that, all kinds of people in the world, all many types of people in the world. It's like you're not saying anything. Then the next one, verse 13, those whose eyes are ever so haughty, whose glances are disdainful. Oh, yeah, there's some of those people. And then the last one, verse 14, those whose teeth are swords and whose jaws are set with knives to devour the poor from the earth and the needy from among mankind. Then verse 15 is the subject continuing. The leech has 2 daughters. Give, give, they cry. Okay, that's another whole subject. So when we look at those 4 verses, they just seem like he's just identified. I've seen this kind of people. I've seen this kind of people. That's you can go there if you want to. But what is being said here, there is saying door, D-O-R. There is a cycle. There's a generation. There's the first turning is like this. And then the second turning follows it. And they're going to follow this. So here's we read it again with that idea. Is that there are those where there's a turning, there's a cycle, there's a generation. There's a cycle of people who will curse their fathers and will not bless their mothers. Okay, that's right here. They're going to reject the truth. This is what mom and dad teach. They're going to say, no, they're going to reject. They don't bless them. They curse them. It's like, no, that's not. Now, that's going to lead to the next turning. There's the second turning is going to be those who are pure in their own eyes, yet are not cleansed of their filth. Now they're going to come up with, they're going to replace the truth. We've rejected this. Now the next turning is going to, well, we've rejected this. What are we going to do? Well, we got to create our own philosophy, our own ideas, our own worldview. And it says that second turning is going to be deficient. They're going to say, we've got it figured out. We're pure in our own eyes. This is good. But it says, no, you've rejected the truth. Your replacement of truth is insignificant. It's not adequate. You are still not pure of your sin. You still are corrupt. You still have not solved any problem. You've replaced the truth with an alternative truth, an alternative reality that is not truth. It's a lie. It's not reality. It's a falsehood. It's a corrupt philosophy. Well, now there's going to be a whole cycle, whatever this cycle means, this generation, this turning's going to go, and they're going to produce and lay the foundation for the next group, and the next group is going to be this right here. Those whose eyes are ever so haughty, whose glances are disdainful. This is the idea of someone who is proud, is arrogant. They're the elite. They know better than everyone else. Their eyes are lifted up. They're ever so haughty. They're going to remove the truth and force their way on everybody. So you're going to get rid of the truth. You're going to replace the truth with an inadequate philosophy. The third generation go, we know better than everybody. This is the rising of the elite. We know better than everybody else. This is what everybody has to do. They're going to be the haughty, the arrogant group. Now, the fourth generation is this right here. In the prophets, it's called the Hamas, H-A-M-A-S in the Hebrew. It's violence. It's social violence. You can see, once you see this, and we're teaching through the minor prophets right now. We're in Zephaniah, but we've gone through Hosea and Amos. We've gone through Isaiah and Jeremiah, the major prophets already. But you see, this is where the prophets come and deal with these people. And these are the people who are socially violent. They're the elite, start driving the middle class into poverty. And here it is, 14. This is verse 14 of chapter 30 of Proverbs. Those whose teeth